Welcome back to another episode of Ruthless TV, where I break down Tyler Perry's hit cable series Ruthless, scene by scene. Now, let's get into this video. Today I want to talk about William and why he had to be killed. And the video and slide that we're looking at is from the second part of the real life Ruthless videos that I'm doing here on the channel. And this segment basically talks about how Jim Jones would plant people in their rooms. It could be a family member, a friend, anyone from the compound. And he would plant these people right inside of your trailer or inside of the house where you were living. And these plants are sent there for one particular purpose, which is to see how loyal you were to Jim Jones. Of course, even though you may have been on the compound with family members, your loyalty was not to each other. It was to Jim Jones. It could be a husband and wife. It could be a daughter and a mom. It could be a son and a father. It didn't matter. You were a plant and your loyalty was to Jim Jones in this instance. So he would send these plants into the rooms with these people to test their loyalty. And when they found out that you weren't being loyal, then you were, reported to Jim Jones, and then you were beaten. I don't know if they went so far as to kill people, but you definitely did not want to betray him or even leave him to think that you were, thinking outside of him, that you could think on your own. And this is why we see so much whispering and, turning of the head, peeking around corners, making sure that no one is there and that no one is listening, is because they're afraid. And not only that, they're timid. They're in their heads, they're like, they want to get out of there, but they don't know who they can trust. They don't know who they can talk to because these plants will be everywhere. And on this picture right here, we see a grandson and his grandmother and one of the news reporters that came in with the congressman. And she's asking them if they want to go home. And if you can notice the grandson's face and his eyes, his body, he was afraid. He was so scared to tell the reporter that he wanted to go home that he didn't know if he should tell her or not tell her. Because again, they're so brainwashed. They don't know, who to trust. They don't know if this person has been flown in by Jim Jones just to test them. And the evening right before this dreadful day, there was another, I don't know if this is the same kid, but there was a young boy who gave a letter to one of the reporters, saying that they wanted to get out of there. They wanted to go home, but the letter dropped and it fell on the floor. But then I think he picked it up and then he tucked it in his arm or something. He wanted to make sure that, he got this message to somebody. But these people were trying to get out of there, guys. And so we go back to William and Andrew. First initially, Andrew came onto the scene, and I think he was, I know he was in the group, that met under the tree with Agnes and the other bunch of people that were killed last season. And we also learned that he was good friends with Paula and Zane. So after this, we learned that he was being abused by the highest. But let's not forget that they used to keep William inside of this box, remember? I can't really remember what William had done to get thrown in the box, but he was in the box and Daikon actually came to get him, and I'm sure the highest had called for him, but God knows how long he was there. And this is also another real situation because one of the cults used to keep their children in these boxes and they would put them at the bottom of a well, and some children would even have to hang upside down overnight as punishment. I can't remember if it was Jim Jones or if it was David Koresh, but all of that information again will be in the next video. So this is a real situation, and once again, Tyler Perry has taken real life situations and made it a drama series, about what these cults actually go through. So then in the end, when they were trying to find William's body, we found out that the highest is telling Andrew that all of this abuse and, things happening to William was just a hoax to see if he was loyal to see if Andrew was loyal to the highest. And, it's just so much back and forth. You don't know who to believe. You don't know who to trust. But, you can't really fake tears. You can't fake blood. And there was also one scene, I don't know if you guys remember, when the highest basically forced him to, go down below on him and not to stop until he said to stop. Even when the highest fell asleep, he was still at it, And I don't think, it didn't look like he was enjoying that to me. So I'm not sure if I believe the highest when he says that, because what's the point? Like, what's the purpose of you putting him through all of this stuff and even lying to Andrew if it's a lie? Or like, what's the point? It's like we don't really know everybody's end game because you can't really trust anybody, and the story switches back and forth so much. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Lilo rose from the dead, right? I mean, it's so much that goes on in this show. Like, you don't know who's telling the truth at this point. So William is running through the trailers, and then Andrew caught him. And of course, we all know what happened after that. And again, everything that William has done does not really add up to what the highest told us in I think it was episode 9, the last episode. And I really can't wait to post the second part, because there's so many similarities with Jim Jones. It's just unbelievable. And this is why I pick on the 3 blind mice so much, Paula, Lacey, and Zane. It's because when they, talk about escaping and they're going to do this and do that, just looking at the thickness of the woods and knowing that, the place where they were actually camping out at, Jim Jones, you had to be flown, okay? You weren't coming up in there in a car. I think there was a truck. I think it was, of course, owned by Jim Jones that was, somewhere. I don't know where these people came from, but, they had a truck, but, they were at the plane. There was this landing strip. So they weren't even in, where the compound part was, because you have to be flown in. You can't really just drive up. You can't drive through, because the only livable space that was there is the only space that they carved out. Once it was carved out, it was done. And, everything had to be flown in. Even the poison that Jim Jones used to poison everybody, again, had to be flown in. Everything was flown in. So when they're talking about escaping, that ain't happening. Where are you going to go? Because it's a jungle. It's a literal jungle. You'll get lost. You won't even know where you are or how to get out, so you'll probably end up being caught before you could see daylight. So William had to be killed. If Andrew didn't kill him, then of course everybody would have heard him calling Andrew a traitor, and he would have had to let them know that Andrew was a cop, basically, because he was talking about, letting him escape, going to the police station, and Andrew was going to help him get out, and to see a guy named Brian and all the things. Like, he was just giving it all up to him because he wanted to help this kid. But, having to end up killing him is the complete opposite of what he wanted to do. So Andrew is really going through it. I just really wish he would go ahead and, close the case, so to speak, because how many more deaths do you need to see, Andrew? How many more people do you need to see beaten? How much more do you need to see? He has all the proof that he needs, because the highest has killed people. They've beaten people. They're starving people. They're raping people. The girls are being traded. All these things, all kinds of laws that are being broken are right there under his nose. So I just wish he would go ahead and tell somebody so that we can get on with the next phase. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss any recaps and reviews on Tyler Perry's Ruthless. I want to give a special shout out to Canada. Canada, if you're in the building, go ahead and leave us a comment so that we'll know that you're there. I left a shout out to Canada on another video, but it's a whole different show, so I'm not sure if Canada is tuned in for Ruthless or the family business. So either way, you got your shout out, Canada. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.